to DSP platform, and welcome to end-to-end data project using AWS and Databricks. I'm excited to come your way today, and I hope you're excited. Today we'll be diving into the world of AWS and Databricks as well as Power BI. And it's going to be fun. For today's demo, we're going to be focusing really using a business use case. So it's going to be really exciting. There will be a lot of videos for this particular episode. Watch out for them, watch all of them, and I'm sure you will really like them. All right, so let's get to it. All right, so now the business context. Take for example, you are part of an engineering team, and a business, or you're part of engineering within a company, or you're a consulting company, right? And a business approached you that they're having this problem. Now, what is the problem? The business challenge is weather-driven taxi demand in New York. Okay, what is that? Now, the problem statement is that New York City transportation providers struggle to forecast demand, set optimal fares, and plan operations effectively, largely due to disconnected trip data and external weather factors. What does that mean? They have the trip data, they have the weather data, but there is disconnection in that. All right. Now, what is the consequence for this business? Inefficient pricing and resource allocation, missed opportunities for revenue and optimization, limited visibility into rider behavior under varying weather conditions. You can see this is a big problem because then they cannot maximize, their platform, they cannot set the right price, they cannot maximize the opportunity for revenue optimization, and also there is limited visibility to rider behavior, right? So now that's the context of this. Now, this business have approached us, and this is what the engineering team has come up with. Now, we come up with this architecture that we're going to be diving into. I know you're excited for the demo. I'm excited as well. But before that, we're going to talk about the architectural diagram. Also, we have a wireframe that has been approved by the business. All right, so we have the architecture on my left hand side here, and also the wireframe here, just the dashboard. Obviously there will be other data that can be consumed out of this data, but for the purpose of this demo, we're just going to use this particular wireframe as a showcase of our product. All right, now for this particular video, we'll just be focusing on the business context. So I really want to dive into it so that for those that are aspiring to come into the field, or for somebody in a different position but they are trying to get into the field, they can kind of get an idea of how the business really works, or how the data request comes and how we solution it. Okay, so because of that, we're going to be diving into the requirement in detail. And then subsequent video, we're going to be talking about some other things before we then go into the demo proper. I'm really excited to show you these guys, and I hope you are as well. Now let's dive into the data itself. Let's dive into the requirement. Okay, just give me a second. All right, so now this is what the business requirement look like. Okay, now we've tagged this project Taxi and Weather Analytics, and this is at October 2025. The owner is the data engineering team, and the stakeholders, people that really will be involving to make sure we are designing correctly, we are giving them the data they need, including analytics, operations, BI reporting, data science. All right, now let's look at the executive summary here. All right, so basically the goal of this project is to build what? First of all, a scalable, secure, and future-proof data pipeline that integrates New York City taxi trip data, which is in CSV files, and weather API data into a unified analytics platform. All right. The combined dataset will enable insight into how external weather conditions impact, weather conditions such as rainfall and so on, impact exit demand, fears, and revenue. Now, business benefit is that it's going to help to improve operational planning, pricing strategies, and demand forecasting. All right. Now, if you look at these business objectives there, now there are key business objectives we are aiming to achieve within this demo, okay? First of all, we need to be able to enable analysts to study taxi ridership trends and weather correlations. Number two, we need to provide a centralized data lakehouse for storing the landing, the raw, clean and curated data set. Number three here is that we need to deliver an optimized data warehouse for BI reporting. Also, number four here is that we need to ensure the scalability for future data sources. Now, that simply means that, even though we are designing a system, we need to make sure that if we have other data demand or requests in future, we don't need to design a new system. The system can accommodate that. So it could include, we need to connect to other APIs. We have Internet of Things or ride-share data. All of those can be involved, okay? All right. Now, also number five here is that we need to maintain security and compliance with enterprise IAM policies. Now, there's a lot of, cyber attack going on now, so we want to make sure that security is built within our system and also that it complies with various standards, around as needed, right? So now, let's go to the scope. Now, it's good to have a scope so that we know what we will be doing and what we can do in another phase, okay? In scope here is the two data sources we've talked about, the CSV file and the API data, okay? Which is going to be in JSON format, all right? And the data pipeline, which will include the ingestion, the storage into the brown zone, which is the raw layer, the transform and clean into using Databricks into the silver zone, and then we have the curated business ready fact tables in Databricks, which is going to be in the gold zone. And then we're going to export that data in the gold zone into Amazon Redshift. Now, the analytics layer we're going to be focusing on, we're going to be using Power BI dashboard for visualization. Now, what is outside the scope that would be nice to do, but it's outside of the scope? First of all, real-time streaming ingestion. Now, we do have batch processing and streaming processing. Streaming is really when we want to focus on really near to real-time processes, but we will not, this is outside of the scope. In future, we might be able to get to that, but for this particular episode, is actually outside of the scope. Non-New York City text data set, for example, if we are to look at various other cities, that is outside the scope. Predictive machine learning model, that's also outside the scope, which is going to be part of phase 2. Now, we want to look at certain questions or business use cases we'd like to solve with this demo. First of all, demand analysis, use case 1. Now, analysts want to understand how daily taxi demand changes with rainfall and temperature in this case. And it could include other weather conditions, but we're narrowing down to rainfall and temperature. Now, the source data is going to be those two data sets we've talked about. The output for this use case will be a Power BI dashboard showing daily trips against the rainfall, which is really in that wireframe that we talked about before. Use case 2, revenue optimization. So here, business want to correlate fears with weather to optimize such pricing strategies. Simply saying that once they know the weather and see how, if there has been surge or things like that, they'll be able to set the right pricing as needed. Source data is going to be 2 data sets we talked about, and the output is going to be a fact table with metrics such as average fare, trips, rainfall within our gold zone. Okay. The last one, which is outside the scope of this episode is the operational planning. All right. So the operational planning, this is where we forecast peak taxi demand during adverse weather to optimize driver allocation. You can think of it like when you use Uber or you use Lyft, you can see there's a time they will give you the surge, it turns red, and things like that. So this would be nice to do. This is what we call predictive analytics, but it's going to be outside the scope. It will be nice to have done. Now the data source is going to be the same as well. The output is also predictive dashboard, which we don't, it's not in part of the wireframe, but it's something we can get to do in future. Now, because we are designing a system, we need to also be cognizant of the functional requirement. Now, functional requirement is what we want the system to do. First of all, we want a system to be able to ingest monthly CSV files. We want the system to be able to call weather API daily, monthly, and store responses as JSON. We want the system to be able to be staged in S3, which is within AWS. We want the ETL to be performed in Databricks and must include a standardized format. And these, all the bronze, silver, and gold zones will definitely be in Delta Lake format. And also the business ready tables, also we want it to join both data set. Okay. And the sixth requirement here is that we want the export curated Delta table to be in Redshift. And we want Power BI to be able to connect to Redshift and allow business reporting. Okay. Now, non-functional requirement, this is how we want the system to behave, right? We want the pipeline to be able to handle multi-year historical data. We want all assets to be controlled by AWS IAM roles. In Azure, we call it Halbach, but in this case, we call it AWS IAM roles. Performance-wise, we want, when users query Redshift, we want it to return result within in less than 5 seconds, which is really the expectations here. Also, we want the pipeline to be reliable, to be able to be automated, and also to be able to run the batch process as expected. And also, we want the code to be modular in nature and version control. What that simply means is that, we want the code base where we can build on top of it. Okay. All right. So, and also that it can be version control such a way that multiple people can use it, and it's well governed as well. All right. That's how we want the business to behave. Now, let's talk about the architecture overview a little bit. We still have another recording where we'll go deep into the architecture overview, because I really want you to know that, because to really have a good idea of what that is all about, then we'll go into a demo. Okay. Now, here we just simplify it. Okay. First task here is going to be to ingest. And what are we ingesting? We're ingesting the CSV file, the API data. Second of all will be to transform, and this will include that lakehouse architecture, brown, silver, and gold. And the next one will be to load the data into the warehouse. We're going to design our data warehouse, and this is just exporting the gold data into the Delta format in S3 as well as copy into Redshift. And then the analytics part is we're going to also use Power BI to connect to Redshift and design some visuals. Okay. Now, as we build this system, we also need to consider some risk and how we can mitigate those risks. Okay. First of all, because when you look at the data, they are more of open source data. The website or the owner of those data can change the structure of the data at any point in time, which can impact the CSV schema, right? So what that will do is that if our schema changes, it can break ETL job, okay? It can basically break our ETL. So if we have automated our workflow or pipeline, that can break it. Okay. So we need to consider schema evolution in Databricks, and also to constantly monitor our data flow. All right. Another risk here is the large data volume. So what that means is that we want to also, because one of the advantage of using Redshift as a data warehouse is so that it enjoy that the benefit of Redshift, which is parallel processing, and there's so many benefits as well. So one thing we want to avoid here is that we want to design systems such a way that we don't get into a point where the queries is going to be really slow. And how we're going to mitigate that? We're going to use partitioning, compression, and Redshift spectrum, and other mechanisms that can help. And the other last risk identifier is security compliance, which simply means that we talked about this before, that we want our data to be secure and also to be compliant with various standards. So the impact here is going to be data exposure risk. Because of that, we want to control who have access to some of our data, and we're going to be using IAM roles, very properly managed S3 bucket, and audit logs to be able to mitigate such risk. Okay, now success metrics. How do we know that our project is successful? Number one, when we are able to complete the end-to-end pipeline runs daily, monthly, including cut over of historical data without manual intervention. That's when we know that, okay, now we are successful. Now, taxi and weather fact table available in Redshift. So wherever the gold data that we have, the curated data set is provisioned in Redshift, then we can say it's a success. When the dashboard is built in Power BI for demand and revenue analysis, we can say we are good. Okay. Lastly but not the least, pipeline runtime is less than 30 minutes for monthly ingestion. Okay, we also can say that at that point that this design is successful. All right, so we're going to stop there. I know there's a lot of context, and there is no practical demo here, but I want to put this context in place so that as you go through the recording and the practical demo, you can always kind of come back here and make sure that you don't lose the content, because at the end of the day, whatever we build is meant to serve the business to be able to make better decisions and informed decisions. So I wanted to keep that in place. So at this point, we're going to start the recording here. I hope you're excited. I hope you kind of get all that in, right? And so please, once you feel free to rewatch this, and once you're done, click on the next video for more detail on the architectural overview. All right. So please share this with your friends, people that you think might benefit from it, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Thank you. Like, subscribe, and share with others. All right, bye for now.